3 months into humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council, and they still call us Deathworlders, creatures too dangerous, too resilient, too impossible to exist. Marine Corporal Day has grown tired of being treated like a fragile curiosity. But when fire erupts in Section 7, trapping a young alien child in a blazing corridor, he doesn't think twice. He charges through flames that would kill any other species, his earth-forged body shielding her from an inferno that should have stopped him. The child looks at him not with fear, but with wonder like a hero from an ancient story. In that moment, something shifts. Maybe humans aren't the monsters the galaxy feared. Maybe they're the protectors it never knew it needed. But when pirate ships descend on the station, and Day stands alone at a corridor junction wounded, outgunned, and refusing to retreat, the universe is about to learn what a Deathworlder truly means. The observation deck of the GSS Harmony stretched before Marine Corporal Day sat in silence, watching stars drift past like scattered diamonds. 3 months into the Galactic Council's integration program, and he still couldn't believe humans were the new kids on the cosmic block. The other species treated them like fragile curiosities, interesting but delicate. It would have been funny if it weren't so frustrating. Deathworlder, he muttered, shaking his head. That's what they called Earth in the restricted files he'd glimpsed during briefing. A planet so hostile that evolution there produced creatures of impossible strength and resilience. The Council had hidden Earth's existence, afraid of what might come from such a brutal world. Then first contact happened, and they discovered humans weren't the monsters they'd imagined. Just people. Really strong, really tough people who healed absurdly fast and could survive injuries that would kill most galactic species. But still just people. The deck's emergency klaxons shattered his reflection. Day was moving before the announcement finished. A fire in Section 7, lower habitation ring. His combat boots hammered against the deck, plating as he ran against the flow of evacuating aliens. Most were Pelthans, those graceful beings with their pale blue skin and enormous eyes. They scattered before him like leaves, their musical voices rising in panic. Section 7's corridor blazed with orange light. Through the smoke, they spotted a small figure huddled against a sealed door, coughing violently. A child. A Pelthan girl, maybe equivalent to a human 12-year-old, her dark hair matted against her face. The flames had cut her off from the main evacuation route. Day didn't hesitate. He charged through the fire, feeling the heat through his uniform, but knowing it wouldn't be enough to stop him. Earthborn skin handled temperature extremes that would blister most species. He scooped the girl up, shielding her with his body as a panel exploded nearby. She weighed almost nothing Pelthans evolved on a low-gravity moon. Her thin arms wrapped around his neck in terror. The return trip was harder. The fire had spread, blocking their original path. Day kicked through a maintenance door, its lock shattering under the impact. The Pelthan child whimpered against his chest, breathing in desperate gasps. Her species had delicate respiratory systems. Too much smoke and she'd suffocate. He ran faster, ignoring the heat, ignoring the smoke that burned his lungs but wouldn't kill him. Not quickly enough to matter. Through 2 more corridors, up an emergency ladder that groaned under his weight, and finally into clear air. Medical personnel rushed forward, but the girl's grip on Day's uniform wouldn't release. "It's okay," he said softly, kneeling to her eye level. "You're safe now." Her huge eyes, violet like nebulae, locked onto his face. She said something in her musical language, trembling. Day's translator implant stuttered. The child was speaking too fast, too panicked. But her meaning was clear in the way she clung to him. She was terrified, but also in awe. He'd run through fire like it was nothing. A Pelthan woman pushed through the crowd, crying out. The girl's mother, Day realized. The reunion was tearful and beautiful, but before the medical team led them away, the child looked back at him one more time. She said something else, clearer this time. The translator caught it. You're like the heroes from old stories. They managed a tired smile. Just doing my job, kid. But as they disappeared into the medical bay, something stirred in his chest. The way she looked at him, not with fear of a Deathworlder, but with wonder at a protector. Maybe that's what humans were supposed to be in this vast universe. Not monsters from a nightmare world, but the people who ran toward the fire when others couldn't. The next day, Day was summoned to the council liaison's office. He expected a reprimand, unauthorized entry into a hazard zone, maybe. Instead, he found an older Pelton woman waiting, her robes marking her as someone important. Next to her stood the girl from the fire, cleaned up, but still bearing a few bandages. Her violet eyes went wide when she saw him. Corporal Day, the older woman said through the translator. I am Ambassador Lyra. This is my daughter, Anna. She insists on thanking you personally. Anna stepped forward, performing an elaborate bow that made Day feel awkward. When she straightened, she was smiling. She said something in Pelton, and her mother translated. She says you are the bravest person she has ever met. She wants to know if all humans are like you. No, they said honestly. Most humans wouldn't want to be Marines. We're kind of weird. Anna giggled at that, a sound that worked across species. Her mother's expression softened. The council has been cautious about humans. Afraid, even. But I see now that fear was misplaced. You risked yourself without hesitation for a child of another species. That speaks more than any diplomatic treaty. Before Day could respond, Anna pulled something from her pocket, a small crystal on a chain, glowing with soft blue light. She pressed it into his hand, speaking earnestly. Ambassador Lyra translated. She says this is a memory stone from our homeworld. When you hold it, it helps you remember important moments. She wants you to have it so you'll remember that you saved her, and she'll always be grateful. Day closed his fingers around the crystal, feeling its warmth. Thank you, Anna. I'll treasure it. The ambassador prepared to leave, but Anna lingered. She looked up at Day and said something else, this time with a mischievous smile. Lyra sighed. She asks if you would visit us sometime. Our quarters are in Section 12. She wants to, I believe the phrase is, hear stories about Earth. I'd like that, Day said, surprised by how much he meant it. Over the following weeks, Day found himself visiting Section 12 regularly. Anna was fascinated by everything human Earth's crushing gravity, its aggressive weather, its dangerous wildlife. But more than that, she wanted to know about him. What was his family like? What did he enjoy? Why did he become a Marine? The language barrier slowly dissolved. Anna was young enough that her brain adapted quickly to human vocal patterns, and soon she was speaking stumbling English mixed with Pelton. Day picked up Pelton phrases in return. Their conversations became easier, more natural. Ambassador Lyra often sat nearby during these visits, working on diplomatic documents, but listening with half an ear. She seemed pleased that her daughter had found an unexpected friend. Tell about Earth storms, Anna said one day, curled up in her chair like a cat. Her English had improved dramatically. Mother says they are very dangerous. They can be, Day admitted. He was sitting on the floor. Pelton furniture wasn't built for human weight. I grew up near the coast. During hurricane season, the wind could knock down trees, tear roofs off houses. Rain came down so hard, you couldn't see more than a few feet. Anna's eyes widened. And you lived in this? We built strong houses. Learned to respect the weather. It wasn't so bad once you knew what to expect. He smiled. Actually, I kind of miss it. Thunderstorms especially. The sound of rain on the roof, the smell of wet earth. It was alive, you know? The planet reminding you it was there. I think I understand, Anna said softly. Our moon is very calm. Very safe. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to live somewhere wild. It makes you tough, they said, but also grateful. You don't take things for granted when nature can be harsh. Anna was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Is that why humans are so strong? Because Earth made you that way?" "I guess so. We had to adapt or die. Evolution doesn't care about fair." "I'm glad Earth made you strong," Anna said. "Otherwise you couldn't have saved me." Something in her voice made Day look at her more carefully. Anna was watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Not the awe of that first day, but something deeper. Something that made his heart beat a little faster. Ambassador Lyra cleared her throat from her desk. "Anna, don't pester our guest with too many questions." "She's not pestering me," Day said quickly. "I like talking to her." Anna's face lit up with that brilliant smile, and Day realized he was in dangerous territory. She was young by human standards, still a child. But Pelton's matured differently. He'd done enough cultural research to know that Anna was considered an adult by her people's standards, old enough for higher education and independent decisions. The contradiction made him uncomfortable. His human instincts screamed that she was too young, but Pelton society saw her differently. He needed to be careful. The last thing he wanted was to hurt her or make their friendship awkward. But as the weeks passed, careful became complicated. Anna started meeting him outside her quarters, suggesting they walk through the station's gardens or observation decks. Their conversations deepened, moving beyond simple cultural exchange to real connection. She told him about her dreams of becoming an anthropologist, studying species integration. He told her about growing up with two brothers in a cramped apartment, about joining the Marines to see the universe. "Do you regret it?" she asked one evening as they watched a nebula drift past the viewport. "Leaving Earth?" "Sometimes," they admitted. "I miss my family. Miss knowing how everything works." He gestured at the alien corridor around them. "Here, I'm always the outsider. The Deathworlder everyone's nervous around. I'm not nervous around you. I know." He looked at her. "That's nice. Really nice." Anna moved closer, and Day's breath caught. In the low light of the observation deck, her violet eyes seemed to glow. "When I look at you," she said carefully, "I don't see a Deathworlder. I see someone who is brave and kind and willing to risk himself for strangers. I see someone I want to know better." "Anna." They started, but didn't know how to finish. "I know humans mature slowly," she said, reading his hesitation. "I've studied your species. I know you think I'm young, but Peltons are different. We're considered adults at the age I am. Our lifespans are shorter, so we grow up faster in some ways." She touched his arm lightly. "I'm not a child, Day, and I know what I feel." Day wanted to step back to maintain proper distance, but he couldn't deny what he felt to an attraction that went beyond friendship, a connection he'd never expected to find in space. "This is complicated," he said finally. "Maybe," Anna agreed. "But doesn't that make it worth exploring?" Before Day could answer, the station's alarm screamed to life. Not fired this time. The priority alert for external threats. Red emergency lights flooded the corridor as an announcement crackled overhead. "All personnel to emergency stations. Pirate vessels approaching." This is not a drill. Day's training kicked in instantly. "Get to the safe rooms. Now, what about you?" "I'm a Marine. I need to get to the armory." He was already running, and Anna ran beside him, her lighter frame keeping pace easily in the station's reduced gravity. They reached an intersection where corridors split, one toward the civilian safe rooms, one toward military sections. Day grabbed Anna's shoulders. "Go, please. I need to know you're safe." Her hand caught his, squeezing tight. "Come back." "I will," he promised, hoping it was true. The armory was chaos. Marines rushing to gear up, officers shouting orders. Day grabbed his combat suit and rifle, checking systems with practiced efficiency. The situation report was bad: 3 pirate ships, heavily armed, demanding the station surrender its cargo and refugees. They had 20 minutes before the pirates started shooting. The Harmony wasn't a military vessel. Its defenses were minimal, designed to deter minor threats, not actual combat. The Marines aboard were for security and emergencies, not warfare. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they were also human. And humans, Day thought grimly as he locked his helmet in place, didn't surrender easily. The battle started badly. The pirates' first volley shook the station, breaching the outer hull in 3 places. Emergency bulkheads slammed down, sealing sections, but not before Day saw fellow Marines being sucked toward the void. They survived. Combat suits held, but they were scattered now, cut off. Day found himself defending Section 12 with 2 other Marines and a handful of station security. The pirates were boarding, cutting through the hull with plasma torches. Species Day didn't recognize, all snarling and armed, flooded through the breach. The fighting was brutal and close. Day's rifle barked, dropping attackers, but they kept coming. His tactical display showed other sections falling. The pirates wanted the refugee hold hundreds of displaced civilians from a recent colony disaster, people worth ransoming. Section 12 was along the most direct route. Fall back to the secondary junction. His sergeant ordered. We can't hold here. But falling back meant abandoning the civilian quarters, including Ambassador Lyra's. Day thought of Anna hiding somewhere in there, terrified. He thought of his promise. Negative, they said. I'm staying. That's an order, Corporal. Court-martial me later. I'm not leaving these people. The sergeant swore, but didn't argue further. Marines understood loyalty, even when it was stupid. Day positioned himself at the corridor junction, the only access point to Section 12's residential area. Alone now, against dozens of pirates. His ammunition counter dropped steadily as he fired, each shot precise. The enemy couldn't advance through his kill zone, but they couldn't retreat either. Their bosses would kill them for cowardice. A grenade arced toward him. Day's enhanced reflexes let him track it, even snatch it from the air and hurl it back. The explosion bought him seconds, nothing more. His rifle clicked empty. He dropped it, drawing his sidearm. Then his combat knife. A pirate rushed him, twice Day's size and snarling. Day sidestepped, his knife finding the weak point in the alien's armor. Another came, and another. He fought like Earth had taught him, with human endurance, human pain tolerance, human refusal to quit. Injuries that would have stopped other species barely slowed him. An alien blade opened his arm. He kept fighting. A blast caught his side. He kept fighting. The pirates faltered. They'd heard rumors about Deathworlders, but never faced one. This human wouldn't stop, wouldn't die, wouldn't break. Some primal fear gripped them. The recognition that they faced something fundamentally different from themselves. Then, reinforcements arrived. Not more pirates, but station security and Marines from other sections, having fought through. The tide turned. The pirates broke, retreating to their ships. Within minutes, it was over. Day collapsed against the wall, finally allowing himself to feel the pain. Medical personnel swarmed him, but he waved them toward the wounded who needed it more. His enhanced healing would handle his injuries given time. Others weren't so lucky. He looked up to see Anna running toward him, her mother close behind. She dropped to her knees beside him, tears streaming down her face. Her hands hovered over his injuries, afraid to touch him but desperate to help. You're hurt, she whispered. I'm okay. Just needs time. You stayed, Ambassador Lyra said, her voice thick with emotion. You defended our section when ordered to retreat. Couldn't leave you behind. Day managed a weak smile. Plus, I promised someone I'd come back. Anna was crying harder now, but also smiling. She took his uninjured hand in both of hers. "You foolish, wonderful human. You could have died. Yeah, but I didn't. We're tougher than we look." Later, after the wounded were treated and the pirates' ships had fled, Day found himself in the medical bay. His injuries were already healing, cuts sealing, bruises fading. The Pelfin doctors kept scanning him in amazement, unable to believe his recovery rate. By morning, he'd be fine. Anna sat beside his bed, refusing to leave despite her mother's gentle insistence. When they were finally alone, she spoke softly. "I understand now why the Council feared humans. Not because you're monsters, but because you're terrifyingly capable. You don't know when to stop fighting. Is that a bad thing?" "It is when I'm afraid of losing you." She squeezed his hand. "Today showed me that you'll always run toward danger. Always put yourself between others and harm. That's who you are. And she took a shaky breath. "I love you for it. And I'm terrified because of it." They sat up slowly, ignoring the doctor's protests. He cupped Anna's face gently, his rough human hands careful against her delicate features. "I can't promise I won't be in danger again. That's what Marines do. But I can promise that I'll always try to come back. Because you're worth coming back to. Even though I'm not human. Even though my people mature differently. Live differently. None of that matters to me," they said honestly. "You're smart and brave and kind. You see me as more than just a Deathworlder. When I'm with you, I feel understood. That's rare, Anna. That's precious." She leaned forward, and he met her halfway. Their kiss was soft, tentative, but full of promise. When they parted, Anna was smiling through her tears. "Ambassador Lyra is going to have opinions about this," Day warned. "Mother already knows," Anna said with a small laugh. "She's known since the first time I talked about you at dinner. She said she's never seen me so animated about anything. And she's okay with it? She said that if you're willing to stand alone against a pirate army to protect people you barely know, you're probably trustworthy enough to date her daughter." Anna's smile turned mischievous. "Though she also said if you hurt me, she has diplomatic immunity in 17 systems and knows where to hide a body." Day laughed despite his aching ribs. "I'll keep that in mind." The weeks that followed were complicated but wonderful. The Council formally recognized human capability, lifting some of the restrictions that had treated them as dangerous unknowns. More humans arrived on the Harmony, taking positions of trust. The Deathworlder myth didn't disappear, but it transformed into something closer to respect. Day's relationship with Anna grew deeper. They learned each other's cultures, teaching and learning in turn. She introduced him to Pelfin poetry and art. He showed her human music and cooking. Their differences became bridges rather than barriers. One evening, 3 months after the pirate attack, they stood together in the observation deck where Day had been watching stars the night before the fire. Anna leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, a gesture she'd adopted from human customs. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "That first day, running into the fire? You didn't know me. I was just another alien child." "Never," Day said firmly. "That moment led to this one. Led to us. How could I regret that?" "The Council is opening more positions for human advisors," Anna said. "There's one on my homeworld, helping integrate human perspectives into Pelfin safety protocols. They need someone with military experience who understands both cultures." Day looked down at her. "Are you asking if I'd be interested?" "I'm asking if you'd consider applying. With me. Together." She turned to face him fully. "I'm not asking you to leave the Marines. But maybe there's a future where we don't have to be apart when my mother's tour here ends." Day had thought about the future, but always in abstract terms. Now Anna was making it concrete, offering a path forward. A life together, not just a station romance. The idea terrified and excited him in equal measure. I'd have to extend my contract, go through diplomatic training. He paused. But yeah, I'd like that. I'd like to stay with you. Anna's smile could have lit the observation deck. She kissed him again, and they thought about how far he'd come. From a kid in a coastal town to a marine in space, to a man in love with someone from another world. Life took strange paths sometimes. You know, Anna said softly, when I was little, my grandmother told me stories about ancient heroes. Warriors who fought impossible odds, who protected the weak, who loved fiercely and without fear. I thought they were just myths. And now? She looked up at him with those violet eyes. Now I think maybe they were stories about the future. About the day when Pelthans would meet humans and realize that heroes aren't myths. They're just people who choose to be brave when it matters most. They pulled her closer, holding her as stars drifted past the viewport. Outside, the universe was vast and strange and full of dangers. But inside this moment, he was exactly where he belonged. A human and a Pelthan, a marine and an ambassador's daughter. Two people who had found each other against astronomical odds. They thought Deathworlders were myths until they met us, they said quietly. But what we really are is simpler than that. We're just humans trying to do right. Sometimes that's enough. It's more than enough, Anna whispered. It's everything. And in the silence of space, surrounded by stars and possibility, they stood together, proof that the best stories weren't myths at all. They were just beginning.